Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Just what exactly is the government's policy on asking firms to record how many foreign workers they employ? And has Donald Trump's presidential campaign been holed below the waterline? These are our two big questions for the week ahead. The Home Office is pumping out briefings as we speak right now, trying to clarify what this government policy is, announced by Amber Rudd at the Tory conference. At first it seemed they were going to publish a percentage of the workforce in companies that were migrants. Then there was even talk of lists of people who worked. Now they're saying it'll just be industry-wide. We're not going to name the companies. We're not going to publish any lists. It's a mess. It
sounds like a classic party conference kite flyer to me. And you know that it has gone hideously badly wrong when even the Home Secretary's brother is hitting out at it. I mean, I think that a lot of people would not have a problem in principle with the idea of companies having to give an idea of the proportion of foreign workers that they employ. I think where it gets very sinister is if you're actually naming people, and that becomes very, very difficult.
That was in some of the reports, but it doesn't seem that the government, even as it badly briefed this out post the Amber Rudd speech, there was never the intention to publish a list of, you know, there are 500 migrants work for this company and here's a list of their names. That was never, I mean, it would be absurd to do that.
It'd be a hell of a bureaucrat. I mean, you think universal credit.
Why would you do it anyway? What's the point?
But now I think the latest line is that actually this is a private list just for government. And but I think it reflects a bigger problem, which is that actually individually some of these measures you can see the principled argument for them. But what we got at the beginning of the week was a big kind of avalanche essentially building up of this very hostile climate towards migrants. And I think that might start making people quite queasy. Justin Greening wasn't asked, for example, about the fact that lots of parents have been getting text messages this week and letters saying that they have to say whether or not their child's got a British passport and a British birth certificate. Of course, if you're going to crack down on immigration, if you're going to talk about who's got a right to be in this country, you're going to have to start doing this kind of data collection. It makes people very uneasy.
There was some plus in the idea. Ed Miliband had proposed something similar. The Americans do it. The idea that we look at those industries or even those companies where there's a high proportion of migrant workers, it sends a message that that's where our skills effort should go. We should therefore be training the people here already in these skills because we're short of them. That would seem to me to be a part of a sensible labour market policy. But that, I would suggest to you, is entirely lost in the complete mishandling of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a catastrophe the way they've put it out. But, I mean, what you've got here are all these different sort of levels, again, about what Brexit looks like. You've got a Home Secretary who voted for Remain and a Prime Minister who voted for Remain, and both of them trying to appear tough in order to placate the people who wanted controls of immigration. You speak to Amber Rudd, she doesn't think there should be any controls over skilled immigration, but that's not the message that's coming through. The message that's coming through is that, you know, we're going to clamp down on this stuff.
Was part of the problem is Amber Rudd, who was a big Remainer, she, unlike Mrs May, she was not a reluctant Remainer. She's also broadly liberal in outlook. Was she trying to be more Brexit than Brexit?
Well, it's a really difficult position for her. I mean, she's now running the department that's going to have to implement all the things that she doesn't believe in, as did Theresa May, although she failed to implement proper immigration control. So
but she's obviously not been across the issues, or it wouldn't have been such a haulage.
She's also following Mrs May in the job that she used to do. So she's got sort of
she can't blame her predecessor, can she?
No, exactly.
All right, let's move on to something rather bigger. And this is this video broadcast that's emerged of the Republican presidential candidate, Donald Trump. It seems to be a watershed moment now in the presidential campaign of 2016. He's caught on tape making lewd comments about women. It's quite a long tape. Let's just have a look at a part of it.
I moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it.
Whoa.
I did try and she was married.
It's huge news, Sarah.
I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the you can do anything.
And there's lots more where that came from. And yesterday, other tapes came out of Mr. Trump making inappropriate remarks in the past when the mic was also running. Yesterday and then overnight in the United States has been quite a remarkable day, I think almost unprecedented in a presidential election. Senior Republicans are now poised to abandon Mr. Trump as the Republican candidate. 24 Republican lawmakers have already disowned him. Senior figures like Senator Mike Lee of Utah, Senator Mike Crapo of Idaho, John McCain, who was the Republican candidate several years ago from Arizona, Carly Fiorina, Senator Kelly Ayotte in New Hampshire, who's got a tough race to work. We're now joined by Jan Halpert Hayes. She's from Republicans Overseas. This is a catastrophe for your party.
It is. It is a catastrophe, but it is not as catastrophic as people are making it. You've listed the elites, and the elites are the ones that lost throughout the primaries. Jeb Bush wasted $154 million. And monitoring all the polls, it's only making Trump's supporters that much stronger. And
but maybe the elites were right, that Mr. Trump was a wholly unsuitable person to be your party's candidate.
I think there's a question of, is he unsuitable, and how much of understanding what the voters wanted and how much they messed up the government plays into it. And I'm beyond being able to defend him.
You are beyond being able to defend him?
Yes, I am.
So isn't that why a number of people in your party are poised to disown him?
Well, there's another part for me, because as a psychologist, I wrote an international bestseller years ago where I interviewed over 4,000 men, and I followed 43 men's lives. So some of this is not shocking, because I have experienced men in power who speak as Trump does. I mean, this must be so strange.
But you may just not want someone like that as your president. I mean, the Republican National Committee has, as of now, frozen any further spending on the Trump presidential campaign. The Republican National Committee.
I agree, and they needed to do this if they want to even retain any women in the party. This has been a very, very smart move. Basically, we need to watch the debate tonight, and I can come on your show tomorrow and tell you whether it's all over or not.
Yeah, to this debate could well be a major...
most definitely.
In
most
St. Louis.
Yeah.
At 9 o'clock UK time. Because the people who are worried now are the senators who are up for re-election. There's a lot of them, a lot more than Democrats. The House, of course, is all up. They're up every 2 years. And governors who are up for re-election too. They're terrified now. They thought they could just about do it with Trump as head of the ticket. Now they're really worried that they cannot.
But there isn't time to get rid of him, as I understand it from the legal opinions that have come out.
That's probably true.
There isn't enough time, only if he was willing to go. It's clear that he isn't willing to go, and I think this interview says it all. I mean, these comments are basically indefensible. What can you say apart from that it's locker room banter? And that's okay if you're in a locker room being a sportsman, not if you're running for president.
And the real danger is that the debate tonight, I think this could be the most explosive debate we've ever seen in American politics, because Donald Trump's only play is to drag Bill Clinton into this. He made comments on Twitter yesterday about how Clinton had said worse things to him on the golf course, and he's going to try and drag Bill and Hillary into this. And there's a great phrase from Ronald Reagan on Gary Hart back in 1988. He said, yes, boys will be boys, but boys shouldn't be president either. Yeah. And I think tonight you're going to see boys being boys again.
Some Republicans are saying that Mr. Trump should be replaced by Mike Pence, his running mate, the governor of Indiana. The problem is that the ballot papers, in many ways, have already been printed. 400,000 have already voted in this election in early voting, and constitutionally, it is by no means clear that you can just, at this late stage, you can drop the top of the ticket and replace him with somebody else.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, there hasn't been a great deal of opposition research done on Mike Pence because he's only been the VP so far. I think this is the same problem that we face with Sanders and saying, well, you know, that's a much cleaner candidate than Clinton. Well, you don't know until you get into that heat of the election really where that is. I think there are prominent Republicans saying they will write in Mike Pence's name, which is an option that some of the states in the ballot paper have. But it's been extraordinary, really, where to see that this is the point where people have ditched him, right? Because there have been comment after comment after comment, and it has to be related to the fact that he was already falling in the polls. You know, after Republican National Convention, he was coming within a whisker of seeming that that was a sort of, you know, he was catching up with Hillary, but then since then he has just tailed away.
A senior Republican said to me, we've lost the White House. We've got to do what we can to hold on to the Senate. And if it goes really badly, we could lose the House too. What do you say?
It is. It's very, very serious right now. And for one who would like a Republican in the White House and for us to retain the Senate and Congress, it's going to be worrying. But as I said, we need to see what happens tonight, and then we're going to really know.
Live from St. Louis, it'll be on the BBC News channel, 9 o'clock London time. Get the popcorn in.